Are you thinking about moving to Fort Thomas, Kentucky? Now, whether you're coming from out of town or you're already living in Northern Kentucky, Fort Thomas has long been seen as the place to live. From award-winning schools and charming historic homes to its small town feel, just minutes from downtown Cincinnati, it's no wonder homes here are in such demand. Now in this video, I'm giving you a local's perspective on Fort Thomas, showing you what types of homes you can find here and even sharing some insider tips, including how I bought my own home here back in 2014. All right, hi guys, my name's Eric Sztanyo with Team Sztanyo. My family and I have called Fort Thomas home for over a decade now. We actually moved in around 2011, and I've helped dozens of families buy and sell here over the years. So as both a local neighbor and a realtor, I know this community inside and out. So let's take a closer look at what makes Fort Thomas one of the most desirable places to live in Northern Kentucky. Fort Thomas is the kind of place where families put down roots. I know I've got 5 kids and we're wanting to stay here basically forever. But families put down roots and they stay here for decades. It has a population of about 17,000 people and it sits on the Ohio River, giving you a lot of beautiful views and a quick 10-minute drive into downtown Cincinnati. And in just a minute, I'm gonna actually walk through the map and show you a few unique aspects about Fort Thomas that kind of makes it so special. And one of the biggest draws is the award-winning Fort Thomas Independent School District. You've got Woodville, Johnson, and Moyer Elementary Schools, and you've got Highlands Middle and Highlands High School at the upper levels. And these schools are consistently ranked among the best in all of Kentucky. And that alone draws a lot of attention from people who are moving to the area and from other families here in Northern Kentucky who want to make sure that their kids have access to the top-notch education. But I will say it's not just about the schools. Fort Thomas has a great, vibrant, small town feel and vibe with community events like the 4th of July parade and fireworks, which we just celebrated a few weeks ago. Art around town, and at Tower Park, you'll have concerts throughout the year. You're also gonna find tree-lined streets, like old trees, like really, really old, huge oak trees. It's pretty awesome. And you're gonna have historic homes and neighbors who know each other by name. It's kind of a throwback community in that way, and there really aren't a lot like it in the Cincinnati area. Now, additionally, what surprises people, I'm gonna show you this just a minute when we dig into the MLS and some of the homes that are for sale there and that are pending and sold. We're gonna look at the market statistics as well, but what surprises people is the diversity of the housing that's in Fort Thomas. Yes, there are beautiful historic homes that have river views and cost millions of dollars and these high-end properties, but you're also gonna find more affordable entry points like condos and townhomes and even a fair amount of multifamily and rental properties in Fort Thomas. And that's one of the things that makes Fort Thomas so great, especially for multi-generational families who want to live close together, because adult kids who are just starting out their careers, maybe they just got married or they're young professionals, they can find a condo or a rental property here while their parents might be already settled into that larger family home. And then also grandparents, if they want to, they can downsize and still be close to their family as their family's growing and as they're aging. All right, let's dig in a little further into Fort Thomas, Kentucky. I want to look at the geography and show you guys a few things that make it unique. Then I want to look at some of the market trends. And then also we're going to look for some homes that are for sale right now, that are pending right now, that have sold. So you can get a feel for what is being sold in Fort Thomas, Kentucky if you are looking to move there. Let's first take a look here at the location and the geography of Fort Thomas, Kentucky. You can see why so many people like it. It's just a few minutes from downtown Cincinnati. Now, one thing that's really unique, I'm gonna pull up a few things here. Just by looking at this, you can see all the mature trees and the greenery that's still there in Fort Thomas compared to Newport or Covington or even Fort Mitchell, Villa Hills, something like that. You've got these beautiful trees there. The other thing I wanna show you guys here is kind of the terrain. Now, what you have here is, you know, you're surrounded by the Ohio River on one side, and then you're kind of surrounded by I-471 and I-275 on the other in Fort Thomas. And most of Fort Thomas is up on a hill. So you're driving up a hill either on Grand Avenue to get there or up Memorial Parkway. So the point of that kind of being is you're really only going to Fort Thomas, Kentucky if you're going to Fort Thomas, Kentucky. There's no through highway that's really going through, bringing a lot of traffic of people going to other locations. It's people who are going there, and that lends to a very, like, as you're going up the hill and as you're entering into Fort Thomas, you feel kind of a change. You're a little bit out of the hustle and bustle of other areas around town. It feels more secluded. It feels more peaceful. You see that with the people who are walking on the street, the kids that are playing on the sidewalks. It's a very walkable community in that sense because the traffic is kind of down, because it's kind of isolated from a geographic standpoint. All right, going back to the map and just to orient you guys a little bit more so you understand where things are at in town. Tower Park is kind of on the more southern side of Fort Thomas, Kentucky, along with Woodville Elementary is down here, right about here, and Highland Country Club. You also have some restaurants down here around Tower Park, just across the street from the VA Medical Center. So you've got Fort Thomas Pizza and Tavern, you've got Midway Cafe, Grassroots and Vine. My family likes going to New Garden, this Chinese restaurant right here as well. It's great for carryout. But you can see the park itself. This is all being redone. You've got the Tower Park. There's new basketball courts here, sand volleyball court, a great playground. You've got some tennis courts and pickleball courts. Up here is where the amphitheater is for different concerts. I love this playground right here. This is recently redone, and the children absolutely love this playground. Then you also have on the back side of Tower Park this Fort Thomas Landmark Tree Trail, which is a great trail. You get some views of the Ohio River here. Now, kind of moving up to the mid portion of town, you've got a lot of residential right here. And then kind of in the midtown, you've got Moyer Elementary School. You also have the Fort Thomas Swim Club, which is a wait list only, but this is a fun pool in the middle of town. Highland Hills Park has the disc golf course, as well as some pickleball courts, the baseball field that the high school uses, and a dog park back in the back. There's some more residential. You've got the high school. You've got the, I'm sorry, I guess I skipped over kind of the middle of town here where you have Fort Thomas Coffee. You've got the Green Line Kitchen. You've got Comal. So kind of in this this central business district, you got several businesses here. And some restaurants right in the middle of town. This is a very cute area. And the coffee shop, I will say, is a place where a lot of people do congregate. It's a great meeting place right in the center of town. Then as you're going to more of the north side of town, you're getting a lot of residential, and Rossford Park is kind of in the middle of a lot of residential on the north side of town there as well. All right, just to give you guys a little bit of stats on what's going on in the neighborhood and kind of the demographics of the area. Let's take a look over here at RPR, which is a realtor's property resource. You can see some of the trends that are here. The inventory is down around 2.5 right now. It's actually a little bit lower here in July. The median sold price in June 2025 is $337,000. It definitely still is a seller's market. In terms of the people that are living in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, the population is about 17,000 people. Male-female ratio is right at 50-50. The median age is 38 years old. There is higher level of education in general, I would say, in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, when you're looking at compared to Campbell County and Kentucky and even the USA at large. And what you see with that, you tend to see more households with children, married households with children, married households without children are definitely higher than you see with single with children. And then in terms of income brackets, you do have a lot of high income brackets in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, with the largest bracket being over $150,000 household income bracket. In terms of quality of life, one thing I want to point out here is the AARP livability index is a bit higher. A lot of that's due to the engagement of the civic and social involvement we've talked about with all the different events and kind of the community feel in town. And I also wanted just to show this average commute time, which is 33% are less than 15 minutes for their commute. 44% are 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So the large majority of people have under 30-minute commute time, again, because you're so close to downtown Cincinnati. Most people are driving to work, but a fair amount of people are working from home in Fort Thomas. I want to dig a little bit further into some market trends and some real estate numbers for you of what's going on in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. If you go back over 2 years, what you see is the median home price in June 23 was $298,000. It's now at $335,000. So there's been quite a bit of change, but there's also not a ton of transactions occurring in Fort Thomas. So you can see here in February 25, where there was a little bit of a dip coming out of the winter, that really shot up with some more expensive homes that sold in February. But overall, you can see the upward trend of the median price sold in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. Now, this chart is showing you the amount of properties that are actually for sale versus the amount of properties sold. Interestingly enough, that number currently right now is down. If you're looking at this year of 2025 or the last year, it's down about 18% over the previous year. So there's not a ton of transactions. What you actually see is about an average of around 12 transactions per month that are sold units in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. So it can be difficult to get into, but we'll take a look at just a moment how many properties are for sale right now and some of the opportunities and entry points to get into the neighborhood. This is the month supply of inventory currently. You can see it went really down in June because there's a lot more buyers that come out. That is a pretty seasonal response that we normally see. You can kind of see that in the spring, summer of 24 as well. But currently, again, months of inventory, a balanced market is 6 months. Over the last 2 years, it's at 3.4. So it's not really as low as some of the other spots. So again, that's busting a few myths, I would say, of like there's no homes for sale in Fort Thomas. There actually are. Here's the average days on market. Going back 2 years, you're seeing the average be 34 days. Now, the homes that are priced right and are in good condition, those are homes that are going to sell quickly. They're going to go under contract in the first few days. They might even still get multiple offers. This number can get skewed by some of those homes that are priced too high or not in really good condition. But on average, over the last 2 years, you're looking at 34 days on the market. One other quick chart I want to show you here is the sale price to original list price. So if you sell right away, or let's say if you get a contract right away, what this is saying is you're going to get 98, 99% of your list price. If you have to drop the price at least once, that number drops all the way down to about 90%. So that's just a quick note I want to mention to sellers. It is really important. If you're listing in Fort Thomas, yes, it's a very high demand area, but you want to make sure you still get that pricing strategy right, or you might lose about 10% of your originally listed price in trying to sell to a buyer. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the homes that are actually for sale right now in Fort Thomas. So this is pulling data from the multiple listing service, the MLS. There are 31 properties for sale right now. You can kind of see where they're scattered about. A lot of them are on this kind of south side to mid side of Fort Thomas. And let's take a look at the results here. And I think what's kind of surprising when you look at this, and let's just sort this by ascending price, is there's more kind of in these condos or townhomes range that could be approachable than what people might think. You've got one at 184. You can see several here there's about a handful in the 200,000s. You'll see quite a bit in the 300,000s. These are normally going to be 2 to 3 bedroom homes, or they might be a 4 bedroom home if they're Cape Cod and they're calling those 2 rooms on top of the Cape Cod as 2 additional bedrooms. And those bedrooms can get a little bit warm, so make sure you've got a good HVAC system or some window units, because a lot of these homes are older. They might not be as insulated quite as well. But you can see from these homes, a lot of them that are on the market are in this $300,000 range. So if you're trying to get into Fort Thomas, there are some options here for you in that 300, maybe up to about 450 range, where there's 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms, maybe 2 full bathrooms, anywhere from maybe 1,200 to 1,600 square feet, something like that. And then as it bounces up, you've got some homes in the $700,000 range to 8s, up to the 9s. The newer homes that you have are going to be, there's a few options for newer homes. In fact, I'll show you where these are. Casa Grande and Villa Grande. This area, let me try to show you the map here. It's actually down a little bit towards Newport and towards Kroger down here. So these streets are, let's see, where are we? So these streets are right down off of Chesapeake. These homes were built about 10 years ago. And so if you're looking for newer homes in Fort Thomas, this is one area where you can get them. They're about 10 years old off of Villa Grande and Casa Grande. The other area where there are some new homes that they're building was this little street. It's called Catesy Court, right off of Newman. Drees Homes built there, and those are all sold out right now. So you're not getting a lot of new construction in Fort Thomas. There's one other new construction area that's close to Fort Thomas. It's called Memorial Point, but that's actually outside of the Fort Thomas schools. And so you can be in that great location. You kind of enjoy some of the community events in Fort Thomas, but you're not getting the Fort Thomas schools if you buy in Memorial Point there, which is just on the south end here, kind of up on the hill, right up here by Highland Country Club. You can see that. So going back to these houses, you can see this is, taking a look at the detail here. This is more larger home, 4 bedroom, 3 full bath, a half bath. And this is about 3,300 of square footage living area. That's probably including the basement in that home. And then you got some other homes around 900,000. You've got a home like this one on Shaw Lane. This was built in 1905. It's been out there 50 days. This is a beautiful street. But again, this is an older home. Just to take a look at some of the photos here with a bigger lot. And you've got, these are some of the homes that are kind of looking on those ridge lines for the Ohio River that have some beautiful views. So these are some of the homes that are active right now. You can take a look at what this is. This might need a few updates on the inside if you take a look at it, but some great hardwood floors, gorgeous old home built in 1905. You can find some of these scattered throughout Fort Thomas. Let's take a look at what is maybe pending and what's for sale. Let me edit this search real quick. So currently there are 15 homes pending, kind of in that same scatter shot. And, again, a lot of these are in those 100s and even 200s. So those may be condos and townhomes. I just want to mention that because if you're trying to get in, even if you can't afford a $500, $600, $700 or $1 million home, you can get into Fort Thomas with one of these smaller homes, these more affordable homes that are in the $200s or even the $300,000. The other thing I want to point out is there's actually 45 units available for rent in Fort Thomas, Kentucky right now. Now, I'm not saying you want to rent there, but again, I'm just trying to point out that I think a lot of people, when they look at Fort Thomas, they're like, I can never get in there. And that's just not really true. If you want to get in, maybe that's renting, and renting could potentially afford you the opportunity to meet people in the community, maybe learn about some properties that are coming up for sale. So if you do want to buy a house in Fort Thomas, you can get in early because you're already in the community. That's what happened with our story. So you can see some of these homes that are pending. This one kind of stood out to me right here because it's not a huge home, but it's maybe a good example of a Fort Thomas home. It's on Burning Lane. It's pending for $565,000. It is kind of a Cape Cod that has but it has some really nice upgrades to it. And it looks like an addition on the back of the house here. You've got a garage, you've got a basketball hoop, you've got the golf cart here. So some really nice features of this home. And this is something you might find as well. This home, I think, was built in 1920. It's not a huge footprint, but all the space is really thoughtfully kind of crafted and designed. You've got these 2 bedrooms. It looks like on the first floor, there's a full bathroom, staircase going up. And so you've got a little loft space there, little home office, and you've got another bedroom upstairs for the kids. Maybe can be up there. It looks like they finished a bathroom upstairs, which is nice. You're not always going to get a full bathroom upstairs with a skylight. So that, that makes it feel a little extra space there. You got the finished space in the basement with, some nice tables, and you can see your utilities are down here as well with your furnace, your water heater, your gym. So it's all kind of your desk. It's all kind of put in there in a tight spot, but you've got this nice outdoor space as well. A hot tub outside. You've got a kitchenette here, a little privacy fence here, so you can watch the Bengals games outside, which is great. You got the playground for the kids. You got this big, large, old tree here, which you see a lot of these throughout Fort Thomas. You got the trampoline, the outdoor shed, and a really nice yard, right? A really nice neighborhood. So you can find a lot of these. This one sold for $565,000. I think normally you'll see these maybe in the 400s, but there are just such, there's a lot of nice upgrades on this one. I wanted to point that one out. So something like that. And my guess on this, just taking a look at it, is that it went pending really fast. Yeah, it was on the market 2 days. So if something is really cute like that, and it's priced right, is in a good part of town, then that might go really fast. So really quickly, let's also take a look at the sold homes here, and we'll look at just the recently sold homes from May until current. So we've got 33 sold homes. And again, the thing I want to kind of point out as I scroll down this list is $65,000, that's a fixer upper for sure, but $190,000 to get into a condo, $200,000. You got a handful here in the 200s. You've got even more in the 300,000s, 3 up to 350. Then you've got a few more here at 427, from like 4 to 500,000. You've got 4 homes that have sold in the last few months. And then they bounce up to the 600,000s. There's Via Grand again, the street we were mentioning before. If you want kind of a newer home versus some of these older homes like this one, $710,000 that sold. Let's take a look at this. This was actually on the market for a little while, so they came down in price from $749,000. You can find those if they're sitting for a little bit. You might be able to get the price to come down Here's another one on Casa Grande. This sold one day on the market, $825,000. Again, a newer home in 2014. So there's not a whole lot of areas in Fort Thomas if you want that newer home. More than likely, you're buying something that has, that's a bit older. Something like this, maybe on Linden. This was 30 days on market, sold for $635,000. They were maybe a little bit overpriced to start. But 4-bed, 3 full bath, and $2,769 approximate square foot on this house right here. All right, guys, I hope looking at the geography and the market trends and what's on the market, what's pending, what's sold, helps you a little bit as you're searching for your home in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. All right, so we just took a look at some of the properties that are on the MLS, some that are pending, some that are sold. But one of the things I want to share here is kind of an insider tip that most buyers are going to be purchasing their homes listed on the open market, but every once in a while, an off-market property is going to come up. And that's actually how my family bought our home back in 2014. We were living in the area. We actually moved into the area because we bought a duplex. That's how we got in. And we lived in half of the duplex. And then after that, we actually ended up living in a rental on a street by some other friends. And as that lease was coming due, we were looking for another property. We weren't sure if we were going to move back to Anderson Township, where a lot of our friends were at, or if we were going to stay in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. And what happened was we ended up finding a property that was off market on our street. It was rare. It was real gem. It's actually a huge God story. I can maybe tell that in another video, but there were other people in line in front of us, and those people kind of cleared out of the way, and we were able to purchase this home off market. So it's been a great fit for us. That doesn't happen all the time, but if you have your ear to the ground and if you know some connections in the community, that might be an opportunity for you to get into this highly desirable neighborhood. And I will say, because I live here, because I stay connected in the community, I do occasionally hear about homes before they're listed on the market. So these are rare, but it's another reason why working with a local realtor, someone who lives in the town and who knows this area, can make a real difference. All right, now the real estate is fun, but life in Fort Thomas isn't just about the houses. It's really about the community. So you've got Tower Park, which offers these great trails. I love doing the Fort Thomas Tree Trail, which is kind of on the back side of Tower Park. Tower Park also offers some great playgrounds. In fact, they just redid the main one by the Fort Thomas Tower there, and it's a fantastic playground now. It's a lot of fun. There's sports fields. There are summer concerts there. There's also a lot of other great parks kind of scattered throughout the north and the south of the community, like Highland Hills Park with its dog park, which is great. That's where the Highlands High School plays their baseball games. But in the back of that park, there is a great dog park that a lot of people enjoy. There's also a disc golf course in that park. You also have Rossford Park, and that's fantastic. I like going there with my kids as well. There's a great walking trail that kind of circles the fields. So if your kids are playing on the playground or in the fields, you can kind of just get your exercise in and go around the walking trail. I really like that. You're also going to find great coffee shops and restaurants like Fort Thomas Coffee and Comal, which I love their tacos. Very, very good. There's also the Green Line, which just came in a few years ago. It's a great addition right in the central business district right there in town. I love that. Then on the south side of town, you've got Midway Cafe, you've got Grassroots and Vine. And I've already mentioned this, but there are annual events that really bring people together. There's the 4th of July parade, which a lot of people from all over Northern Kentucky come to. There's also the Light Up Fort Thomas during the holidays, which is great. All the shops kind of open up. There's hot chocolate, there's candy canes and fires. It's a great time for the whole community to come out and enjoy that holiday festive spirit. It's just a really active community where events are happening like this all year round. Like if you want to live in a place where you get to know your neighbors and you can kind of put down roots and you're having these walkable community events, it's just a fantastic place to live. It's the kind of place where neighbors are looking out for each other and families can really grow strong together. So if you've been looking around and Fort Thomas is where you want to be, I would love to help you make it happen. So as a neighbor, as a local realtor, I know what it takes to navigate this competitive market here and sometimes even uncover opportunities that others might miss. You can reach out to me at info@teamsztanyo.com, email me there directly, or you can visit our website, teamsztanyo.com, to get started. Don't forget to subscribe to more videos about life in Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati on this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.